Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, and we are doing the extra time. I'm joined by James from the Babbling Blues. First of all, mate, give me your thoughts on the Boreham Wood Everton game.
Yeah, long game, long night. It felt like I didn't get in till about 11:30 or something. Those Thursday kickoffs are rough, but we're in the next round. We got a decent draw, could have been a lot worse. So yeah, absolutely fine with it. Just focus on the league for another few weeks, have a little international break as well. So yeah, I'm feeling good, and I know obviously we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. It wasn't the best performance, but we won. No injuries, nothing like that. Clean sheets. I'm happy.
Yeah, I thought it was one of those where I think the certain levels of the media were sort of open for a banana slip, an upset, as they do. To be fair, whenever a team in non-league comes against the Premier League, I think everyone, regardless if it's Everton or not, wants an underdog story. But you could just feel that pull, couldn't you, from people that wanted it. And luckily, Everton, managed to do enough to not have that happen to us, because that I think that'd top a lot of fans off. Were you surprised by the formation or the personnel that he picked?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of them. I got to the ground about 7:15, so I just saw the team as I was walking in. I didn't really know what we were going for. Couldn't tell if it was going to be maybe Mikalenko at centre back, with even Kenny at left wing back, or whether Patson was going to play centre half. Obviously, we've not seen him yet, so we didn't know. Didn't know whether it was going to be a flat back four and Patson was going to play right side midfield. Just I had no idea. And then in the end, I think most people suggested it'd probably be Kenny at centre back and Kenny Mikalenko on either side. So I really wouldn't be surprised to see him go for the same shape for the next cup games. I just don't think he trusts any central midfield players we have other than Alan, Corey and Van der Beek. And obviously, when one of them can't play, he's going to go to two in midfield. I think Gomez's time at Everton's probably done now. I think Lampard's already sort of sussed him out. I'd be surprised to see him get another sort of run in the team. Obviously, Gaban's gone out on loan. A couple of the lads are a bit younger. Delph's just no point even getting into him, is there? So I think in terms of the central midfield, he just wants to protect that area of the pitch, and that's why he's gone for that shape whenever we've not had Donny van der Beek, essentially, and obviously Decore too. So I was a bit disappointed because it did seem very defensive, and it did change in the second half too. Obviously, brought in a much better performance from us, but yeah, I think it wasn't a case of trying to stave off their attacks or anything like that, because they obviously barely touched the ball in our half, certainly in the second half as well. I think it was more just a case of just wanting to protect the back. There's two in midfield and just get some more numbers on the pitch in that area. So a bit surprised. I would have preferred to a bit more attacking, but what can you do when you've got this ridiculous cup tied rule ruling out a couple of really important players for us?
Yeah, it felt like he was sort of trying to give everyone a go, as well as obviously, like you said, having cup tied players. I think he was trying to rotate. Obviously, Richarlison got a bit of a rest. Seamus Coleman got a bit of a rest. I thought he was trying to do the best he can without also, obviously, didn't want to put a load of the lad. We saw Dobbin, Price, and Welch. He obviously didn't want to start with them because, like I said, everyone else was hoping for sort of an upset. The last thing we want to do is give them any chance of that sort of thing. You mentioned Patterson. We saw about 46 minutes of him. What did you think of his first game in an Everton top?
I thought he looked good. I got in, and Twitter seemed to be a little bit more negative towards him. I thought he looked absolutely fine. He beat his man 2 or 3 times. He was attacking. He wanted to make things happen. If he wasn't getting the ball in the box, he was keeping it safe and keeping possession. He was taking his man on when he thought he could. Won us a couple of corners. I thought he was absolutely fine, and I was disappointed that he got taken off rather than Kenny at half time. Obviously, Kenny got the assist for the goal, so I think Lampard's obviously been proved right on that one, but I thought he looked absolutely fine. I thought he was a little bit harsh on the stuff I read on Twitter. And if anyone said he was downright really poor or even bad, but just for a lot of people saying he was very raw and just didn't look great. I thought he looked composed on the ball. He's a full international. He's played in Europe. So I'm surprised it's even taken him this long to get in the team. But yeah, I thought he did himself fine and definitely deserved to go out and play another 45 minutes, in my opinion, from what I saw anyway.
Yeah, I saw this exact same as you, mate, saying that people were saying he's a bit raw. I thought he did okay as well. I don't know what people were sort of expecting. He wasn't going to come on and score, a hat trick or something and take on half the team. And bearing in mind, he's also he's a fullback, to be fair to him. But I thought he did well. He didn't have a howler. He had a competent game. It's all you can ask for your debut, I reckon, in front of a home crowd.
Yeah, definitely. And even though I've said all those things about playing in Europe and playing for Scotland and stuff, it's been over a decent period of time. He's been involved in the Rangers first team, and it must be difficult when you're behind the captain of one team and then you go to a new club and you're not only behind the captain of that team, but you go to a club who are in a really difficult situation. I just think that's why Lampard's not throwing him in. He doesn't want to ruin his confidence. And at the end of the day, we've got to trust him. Obviously, some Blues were saying before the game, if he can't play against Boreham Wood, who can he play against? I get part of the point that they're trying to make, but I think it's going to be down as well to fitness and match sharpness. I thought it was interesting that he went and put him in as a wing back, which is obviously it's a different position to full back. In my opinion, I think it's a little bit underrated, the sort of needs of the position, and especially when you got a right back playing next year as well, a centre back, and they had Townsend ahead of him who, for his hard work, had a pretty poor game, I thought. So not the easiest scenario for him, but he came in. I thought he did absolutely fine, and as I say, I wasn't anyone around me disappointed to see him get hooked at half time. I think that was more just because he wanted to see the job through, and John Joe Kenny is in better form, fitter, knows his players better than he does at the minute. So I think he's using them in. I've got no problem with that, and I just hope he does get a couple of games before now and the end of the season because, I like what I saw.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I'll just add Cal in, and then I can ask Cal for his as well. You right, Cal?
Yeah, don't go with Santander, boys. That's just all I'm going to say before.
We were just on about Patterson and asking what you thought of his first game in an Everton top.
I think it was a bit harsh to sub him off at half time. I don't think it was the best performance I've ever seen, but it's not the worst. And I was listening to James speak there about there is a huge difference between fullback and wing back. The responsibilities are completely different. The system's completely different. But a wing back in a back three is completely different to a fullback in a back four. You're expected to do completely different things. And Patterson, for someone who's been playing in the under-23s, to be thrown straight into an FA Cup game against Boreham Wood, who, don't get me wrong, aren't the best quality better team who are going to be willing to fight and go at us. I think jumping on the lad after his first game is just the wrong way of going about it, in my opinion. He's young, he's still got time to develop, and he's going to be given chances in games like this because I think he should, as he should be. He's a developmental piece to hopefully be our right back for the next 10 years in a few years' time. I think just jumping on the guy now and saying he was awful when, in my opinion, he just wasn't, it's just taking things a bit in an unnecessary fashion for someone who's so young. And this game was maybe not a prove yourself game, more of a get yourself out there game and actually get a chance to play some first team football.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did an all right job. Obviously, me and James were saying before about, and we'll get into it now. I asked his thoughts of the game. I thought it was a bit Jekyll and Hyde. The first half was, I'm going to be honest, it was a bit of a nothing. We seemed to just hold the ball around our side of the field, couldn't really get in, just around the circle. I thought it was a bit dull the first half, in all honesty. And then the second half, I thought we were a bit better. But let me know what you guys thought. I'll start with you, James.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help that it was on a Thursday night, and you had all the stuff at the start of the game with Ukraine. I think that just kind of didn't flatten the crowd, but just kind of, I don't know, just felt a little bit strange, a bit like it did on the weekend as well against City. It just felt a little bit different going into the game. It felt like it was a bit of a, didn't take a backseat almost, but and then as soon as we started off a little bit sloppily, we let them have the ball the first 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and then the crowd obviously just started getting on the players a little bit, and the performance didn't get much better. And then in the second half, we had a bit more impetus. We changed things around a little bit. Richarlison was getting in those pockets that I think Gordon and Townsend were only getting in every so often, every few attacks, and that's when we were really starting to hurt them. So there's no doubt we deserved to win the game. Boreham Wood offered absolutely nothing going forward as a fifth-tier side. Shouldn't do against best part of 11 internationals. I think there's only a couple there who haven't played for the national side or underage levels, whatever. So, I think it was just, it ended up just being quite routine. I think if that was the third round, I think it would have been just fine. But I just think because it felt there's a little bit on the line, we got a great chance to get into the semi-final now. Everyone kind of wanted us to just kind of put them to the sword, get a couple of goals up, bring a few young lads on. And it happened, but it just didn't happen straight away. And whatever, so I don't want to read too much into it because we've rotated the team. We're playing players who are, full-backs at wing-backs, full-backs at centre-half, players who are playing in back fours one week, back fives the next, second-choice goalie, all that sort of stuff. So all plays into it. And at the end of the day, I'm not too fussed. I'm not too angry about the performance. We won the game. We're in the next round. So as long as we're better in the league, that's all I care about.
Carl?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as James, really. Is we got the result and that's all that matters. Because I don't think we should be looking at this going, we can't perform against the National League side. How are we going to survive after we've just took Man City to the sword for 90 minutes and, arguably should have gotten points out of that game. So, it is... Everton are very, like you said, we're a very Jekyll and Hyde club. We've had this tendency for years now where we'll show up one week and then not the other. But like James said, it's a completely rotated team. Players who are used to a different system, playing in a different position. You've got a complete rotation. Some of these players who may have not have even played with each other in Lampard's system. The example being, Patterson. Michaelenko hasn't really played much in Lampard's system. Kenny's been given the role at left back, really. So I think jumping on it, we got the win. They were a frustrating side. I think it was obvious they were just going to sit every man behind the ball. And I do think the goal in the first half was to try. It's almost like he was trying to get used to the way of Lampard wanting us to play when we do have the ball, being able to carve teams open to create an opportunity. But when you haven't got your first team out there, that is naturally not going to be as easy as it may have been if the full first 11 was playing against Boreham Wood. So I think if you're going to look off a game to judge at, you should really be looking at the one on Monday, not a FA Cup game against the National League side, if I'm honest with
you. Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest, I'm with you guys. As long as the league team, stays and improves, and obviously this is a rotated side. There are a couple of lads that obviously the debut for Patterson, and a couple of lads that probably won't be playing come Monday night. One of them that did play, and Irwin's put here that Irwin both put it's a great win. Thought Patterson played well. Wormy said he thought he played decently. Wormy's only objection is that it's sort of the idea that he might be good in 2 years. When you could argue Everton probably need a right back now. I don't think the club are going to keep John Joe Kenny. When we spoke to Paddy Boyland, he sort of said Everton normally tend to offer you a contract before now if there's any future, and sort of the Celtic and Schalke loans sort of basically sealed Kenny's fate. Do you think that's a worthy criticism? Sort of, need a right back now really for Seamus Coleman, not sort of one that's ready in 4 years, 2 years.
Yeah, I think we needed a right back. We needed a right back 3 years ago. Never mind now. So by the time Patterson's ready, it could be 4 or 5 years later than what it needed to be. So I think it'll be ready before then. I think Lampard will now probably look to get a couple of games worth a minute in him now before the end of the season. It'd just be nice if we're 3-0 in a game with 60, 70 minutes gone. We can then just bring him on and start easing him in a bit like that. Get him as much 23 experience as possible, because obviously we can't. I'm not sure who's playing right back for the 23s now. It might be Kyle John, but whoever it is, he hasn't been good enough to get in the first team for the past 3 years. So get him in there, get his fitness up, all that sort of stuff. And so he's got the right attitude. I'm sure he'll be in by next season. I'm sure he'll be really knocking on the door and getting rotational minutes at the very least at right back. But yeah, I totally get the point. But then again, we've signed Michaelenko, who's 23, 24, played in Euros in Europe, etc. Full international level, as I say. So, and he's kind of been in and out, obviously through illness, and then through maybe a bit of preference on who the manager wants to put there, whether it be Kenny or Godfrey or whoever. So it's an interesting one, but the scouting has been a bit haphazard over the last couple of years, and I was just happy to see a younger player come through the door who we can actually develop. And I think when you spend money like that, players have got to be ready within sort of 6-12 months of signing for the club. And I think Patterson, assuming he does get some minutes before now at the end of the season, will be on that sort of trajectory, I'd suggest.
Cal, your thoughts?
I think it's quite a confusing scenario, because I think, look, when you look at the money we did end up spending in January, we might have been able to find a first team right back for that amount of money. So it is quite confusing. It's the entire situation around it's confusing. I do think the Patterson signing was a good signing. I think he is going to be a top player, and I think he's going to be a Scotland international for the next 10, 12 years. So I think it is quite a smart signing, but at the same time, it is, in summer, are we going to replace Seamus Coleman? Are we going to sign a 27, 28-year-old right back? And then when he starts to hit his early 30s, is that when Patterson steps in? Does Patterson step in this season? Next season, sorry. I think it's quite confusing, and I think we don't know particularly what the club's going to do. But I do have faith that Patterson will be a good player for us. But I do agree with Wormy that we probably should have looked more for a right back for a 24, 25-year-old right back with something to prove instead of, no offense to the lad, I think Patterson's going to be a good, but an 18-year-old project right back, really.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a sign of better late than never, because it looked like James said, we needed one about 3 years ago, and the further it got on, it sort of felt like something we'd never get one, and Seamus Coleman would be pushing down the line at 40 years old. So it's good to just have somebody there now, I guess. But I do agree, it would have been nicer to get someone who could push the first team a little bit, but it's sort of one of them, isn't it? You never know. Cal John might make his appearance. Another man that sort of impressed was, found his level. I heard somebody say the other day was Solomon Rondon getting both the goals. Talk me through that, getting the goals. Do you think we're sort of doing him a disservice, or do you think it genuinely is he's found his level and it's National League?
No, his level's not National League, but he still missed a few sitters, didn't he, against National League opposition? I could say 2 or 3 times where he just booted it at the goalkeeper, and it's just, I think I don't know why Rondon started. To be honest with you, he scored 2 goals, so in hindsight, yeah, probably should have started. He scored the goals, but it's a difficult one. You've got to praise his performance because I don't think he'll ever score 2 goals again in a game for Everton. So, has he found his level? I mean, he could top score in the National League. I don't think he could top score in any other league in England. And so I don't know. I just think he scored the goals. He had a good performance all round. I think that's it, really. I don't think I'm going to take too much stock like he scored 2 goals and played well against Boreham Wood when, there's geezers who probably have part-time jobs in the National League who might have scored against Boreham Wood this season. So it's quite difficult to say, really.
James, what did you think of his performance?
I thought he was all right, to be fair. I think he had a couple of nice touches. I think the only chance in the first half we had, he set away with a good little flick over one of their defenders' heads. The only time we got him behind them, really, the whole game. I thought he was all right. I think what's interesting, though, is that obviously we've had him and Toshin, and there's a lot of parallels between the pair of them, that they've come in as sort of poster boys almost of the Benitez era and of the Allardyce era. Obviously, Toshin's caused a lot more issues. He's cost £27 million more. He's definitely on more money, more expectation and stuff. But he's been bombed out the squad, and Rondon's on the bench. He's getting minutes. He's obviously started the other night. He scored a couple of goals. He probably could or should have got a hat trick as well, as Callum was saying then. So I think what it probably says to me is he seems to have had a really good attitude throughout his Premier League sort of career, whether it's West Brom or Newcastle. He seemed to have a really good attitude, and the fact that he stayed in the squad when Dobbin's not been making the bench, and obviously when Calvert-Lewin's come back, he's still been sort of involved. So if it's good for us, the fact that he's got a couple of goals, because it might mean he can come on in the game, have a bit more confidence, and who knows, maybe he may end up scoring a really important goal for us. We've had a couple of crap players down the year score really important goals, like Daniel Amakachi and Gareth Farrelly and whoever else. We've sort of almost not relied on, but it's become during hard times, some of the worst players we've seen have stepped up. So who knows, Solomon Rondon could have a really important impact in the season. He scored at Palace earlier on in the campaign, and who knows, he could be the man to send us to Wembley. So I'm happy he's got a couple of goals, more players and more confidence. You never know what can happen. So yeah, I'm pleased.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh about his finding his level, but it was good to see him get goals. And to be fair, I don't care who scores them in this team as long as they hit the back of the net. Boreham Wood, we'll talk about them as well, because obviously they were a Cinderella story. Obviously the club, in terms of Everton, did their best to support them as well, and stuff like that. So give me your thoughts on Boreham Wood, the occasion, sort of how they played. I'll start with you, Cal.
Fans were clampets, weren't they? There's just, I think if you're going to look back at this game for Boreham Wood, and for Boreham Wood fans, especially if I look at what I've seen on Twitter, a lot of Boreham Wood fans are saying, we didn't actually get the chance to go. These are people who support Premier League clubs who've just bought the tickets because they've got no else to do. And I think, the entire story of Boreham Wood, if we take the fans out of it, it's fantastic. The owner offering the players full-time pay during COVID, the story of a non-league club getting this far into the FA Cup's a fantastic story, and it's something that we're going to look at in a few years' time as similarly to the Lincolns, the Forest Green, I think, was a team who did it a few years ago, where they push in these competitions, and I think it's a bit of a generic line, but it's the magic of the FA Cup, really. But I think if you look at our game, it's going to be it's going to be looked at as, oh, well, you ruined it for yourselves, really, for the fans, isn't it, with everything the club did. And then I'm pretty sure, I'm not completely sure, I wasn't there, but what, didn't a few fans from the Boreham Wood end start scrapping with each other?
Apparently so.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, you're ruining the occasion for yourself, and if they weren't Boreham Wood fans, you're ruining it for other people, so... But it is always something like that in the FA Cup, isn't it? The FA Cup, in the nicest way possible, it always brings the strangest people to the occasion, I think, is something you can say. But overall wise, it's fantastic for Boreham Wood, and the money that's going to go into the club from the FA Cup is probably going to help them a lot. It may even help them get promotion to League Two, because I believe they're in the playoff spots in the National League. So we could see Boreham Wood push on with this momentum and end up making their way into being technically a professional football club for the first time in their history, maybe.
Yeah. James, what's your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see them. I didn't actually watch the game they played against Bournemouth, to be fair. I kept up to date because obviously I knew we were going to play the winner. But scenes from after that with obviously the full-back and the Tony Hibbert shirt and stuff like that was class. And obviously I know they've probably had some great memories in the early rounds. So I can't say I saw their performances or anything, but yeah, it's always interesting. It's always fun. It's a bit of a shame because obviously you had all the fans kicking off toward the end. They were singing the sign on and the benefit and all that nonsense you get from not just them, obviously, from football fans up and down the country. But it's a bit like, you're singing about Everton in that way and Everton fans, but we paid for the kit they were playing in, and it's all just a bit, I don't even know what word to use, but it's just a little bit frustrating when you hear all that. Because at the end of the day, I think 99.9% of people knew Everton were going to win that game, and I think, as Callum said, there was just some day goers who kind of came along who support the likes of the clubs that are higher up the football pyramid in and around the Boreham Wood area. So it doesn't surprise me that there were some idiots there, and it's a bit of a shame. But I say the owner, obviously, I think he mortgaged his house so he could play the players and the manager and stuff, and they're doing well in the National League. Really, really tough league to get out of. And I think Lincoln a few years ago got to the quarterfinal maybe, and then they got promoted, and then they got to League One, and then they got to the Championship. So it's a really good springboard for any team who goes to this sort of level of the competition. And yes, it did mar the occasion for me in terms of the fans acting like dickheads towards the end, and sort of some of the stuff they were singing throughout the game. And I think one rung up TalkSport, didn't he, saying we were crap and the Everton fans are crap. And I was like, it's a different, well, it's quite literally a different league is the word I was going to use, but it's a different sort of scenario when you go to that, watch Everton every single week, and it's not going to be the perfect place to watch football at times. But yeah, obviously I hope they get promoted in the end. That'd be a really nice story. And if we were to go on to win the cup and they got promoted, I think that'd be really, really nice. But yeah, the actual day a bit ruined, but I think after the game, the proper fans stuck around, and the scenes, to be fair, I stuck around for sort of 10 minutes after the game, and it was good, to be fair.
Good, yeah, I completely agree. I think the story of it was all lovely, especially with the fullback being an Everton fan and a big Tony Hibbert fan. It was, yeah, I'd heard about the fans singing and stuff like that. And it was a bit of a shame, bearing in mind what the club did. The kit obviously looked quite nice, the commemorative kit that we got for the game for them. And also, I was in Liverpool that night as well and walked past the Hilton, which is where the Boreham Wood lads had been put up, the Boreham Wood lads. So, the club really did put out a couple of, for a nice stay for them. So it was kind of like a little bit disappointing. But like you said, apparently there were a mixture of Watford fans, Arsenal fans, I think people that just wanted to go to an FA Cup, to say they were there when Boreham Wood went to Goodison, and especially Watford, because they seem to have this strange rivalry with us. I don't know if it comes from us getting Silver and Richarlison, but they seem to be quite obsessed with us at the minute. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit disappointing, but we'll have to wait and see what they hold. Moving on, we have we got the next draw. We got Palace. Tell me your thoughts on it. Are you confident for it? Start with you, Cal.
I don't really know because it's away. If it was at Goodison, I think I'd tell you we would win this. But I think the fact that it's away, all the players that we have cup tied, I believe we can win the game. I think, compared to the others, and I think we can win. But I think when is these end of the month? These ones?
I've got the date for you now. Yeah, March 19th.
So in about 2 weeks' time. So I don't know if we play an away fixture then. I know is Spurs away.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can beat Spurs at their ground and hopefully kind of remove this stigma of us not being able to win away. But I think we need to go into this game all out. We have to win. We win this. We're at Wembley because semi-finals and finals of the FA Cup's Wembley, isn't it? Same as a chance for us to go to Wembley. I think it's been a while since we last went in the FA Cup. Anyway, was the last one Man United probably?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Where we lost to United and then they played. I think it might have been even Crystal Palace in the final. But I think it's a huge occasion for us, and I think. With some teams around us still not looking very good, Chelsea annihilating Burnley today. Brentford got a big win, but Norwich, Leeds didn't look very good under the new manager. It doesn't look like they might be getting the new manager bounce they thought they would. But, a run to the FA Cup semi-final is going to be a huge success in the fans' eyes. And, and Frank's managed us through the last stages. So I think it'll be a huge game for the club, and I think it'll be a huge game for Palace too. So I think you're going to go into it and you're going to see both teams give it their all. But I definitely do think we have enough to win it. I just find it quite funny how the three big teams managed to miraculously avoid each other once again.
Yeah, it's uncanny that it's just mental how they do it, but they all want a fairy tale story until they get into the latter round, and then if they got Boreham Wood in the semi-final, I'm sure they'd sell a lot of tickets, but I don't think they'd be too happy with that, so I'm not surprised that they split them up again. But yeah, I mean, Palace, I think they flattered to deceive this season. They were 18th in the form table, I think, before this last week, and then they won a couple of games, and they won today at Wolves, who haven't looked great for a couple of weeks now, in my opinion, and obviously we've got them coming up soon, but they've got some really good players like Gallagher. Elise is really starting to find his feet in the league now, and I think Eze's starting to come back. Zaha's got a couple of goals recently, and like Gay and Anderson and Gaeta, and I've got quite a good team, and I think it's going to be a really tough game. But we saw the game, I think it was December, we played them, we got beat 3-1. We didn't play very well at all, but we probably didn't even deserve to lose the game in terms of first goal was a mistake by Damari Gray, the second was a really poor refereeing decision, and then a worldie by Conor Gallagher right at the end. We had a great chance of Gordon down the other end as well, I seem to recall, with Rondon scoring as well. So I think it's going to be quite an even game. We've got quite a good record at Palace. I think that was the first time they've beaten us in the Premier League at their ground, certainly this millennium anyway. So we managed to get quite a good record, but at the end of the day, they're safe in mid-table now after that win. I think I can't see them getting dragged into it. I was a little bit not worried, but I thought them and Leicester could have easily slipped into it with a couple of more poor results. I think they could have found themselves towards the bottom end of the league, but I think they're going to be safely in mid-table. The only issue is I think that Newcastle game is still going on the Thursday just before it, and we're playing on a Saturday. It's just absolutely ludicrous. If you play on a Thursday, you know we play on a Sunday, so it doesn't surprise me. But obviously, you'd imagine Van der Beek, maybe El Ghazi, Dele Alli, they'll all play. But this cup tide rule as well, I can't fathom it. I can't get my head around it. I think there's no window. There is a window now, rather. So I think if you sign a player in that window and then 3 months later there's an FA Cup quarterfinal, why on earth can't he play in it? I can't possibly understand it, especially when, not like it matters, but Tottenham and United are both out, and so are Villa for what it's worth. Why can't the 3 players we signed from those clubs play? We didn't know we'd get to this stage in the competition. I think Liverpool signed Diaz from Porto, and because Porto didn't make it to the next round, he could play for them. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So hopefully I hope that's going to end over the next few years. That's one I hope they end up looking at. But yeah, it seems a bit unfair that we're losing one of our best players for really no reason at all. But yeah, well, that's kind of what happened. So we'll see how we get on. But it's a game where Everton can absolutely win, and let's just hope we're in good form going into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the rules are absolutely mad, and I hope that it's just a matter of the fixtures being that close that nobody's noticed, and that moving on closer, somebody's going to go, "Oh, that's not quite right." But I'm not holding my breath for that. Give me your sort of players. I don't like saying the word worst, so we'll say your player that could do with some improvement, and your best player from the Boreham Wood Everton game. I'll start with you, Cal.
The player who could improve. So if we're going overall, or are we going from that game?
From that game.
Andros Townsend, comfortably. I like Townsend. He works hard, and he towards the start of the season for that first stretch under Rafa, he was fantastic. The goal at United, the goal at Burnley. He had some really big moments for us, but he might be the most predictable footballer I've ever seen. You just know what he's going to do, and even National League players knew what he was going to do, and they were handling him quite comfortably. And I think Townsend suits Rafa Benitez's style of football a lot more than he suits Frank Lampard's style of football. I think, to be honest with you, Andros Townsend doesn't suit progressive football, and I think that's why he's not at Crystal Palace anymore. I think that's why he's at Everton now, because I think Palace knew they wanted to move to a more progressive, advanced style of football, and that Andros Townsend wouldn't fit that for the wages that he's on. But I think we all know he's better than that. I think he's shown it for Everton this season that he is a better player than what he was against Boreham Wood, and I could definitely see him improve and having an impact on our cup run. I could easily see him scoring against his old club Palace, because I just think that's how football likes to work. Old players for your club ruining a possible FA Cup advancement. But my best player from that game, to be honest with you, mate, I think maybe Kenny. I think if I had to pick one, I think Gordon was Gordon driving with the ball was, good, getting into the positions. But I think when he actually got into those positions, his decision making was a bit poor. He just seemed like his instinct was just to shoot every time he got it. And, I think that's naturally because of the level of the opposition. But I think Kenny got forward well. I think he created a few chances. But yeah, I guess that would be mine. Kenny and as the player who might be stood out the most, and then Townsend as the player who could improve next time.
Yeah. Jones?
Yeah, I'd say Townsend as well. I think he was really poor in the first half. He was overhitting crosses, hitting shots over the bar. Second half, more of the same. I think we were a little bit more dynamic in the second half. Weren't quite relying on him and Gordon as much to get the ball in. And I think at 2-0, I say Gordon was kind of picking the ball up, beating his man and shooting from anywhere. And I think it was interesting for Gordon, really, because I think it was kind of a game he felt like he was burdening a lot of what Everton were trying to do, because Everton fans don't trust Solomon Rondon. They probably don't trust Andros Townsend, which is fair enough. He did well in the first part of the season. I think he is actually our top scorer in all competitions, maybe still now, which is mental.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of tells you all you need to know about how this season's gone. But and our stats don't mean everything. But yeah, in fairness to Towns, he stuck at it, put a good ball in for the second goal. But yeah, not a great performance, and it's a shame for him really, because with Damari Gray obviously only just coming back now from injury, Lampard's probably going to think he's got to kind of put him straight back in. Whereas Towns are putting a good shift there. You could have seen him playing on Monday against another one of his former clubs, obviously in Spurs. But yeah, I probably would say Townsend, and then the best player. It's hard to pick. Kenny had a good second half at left back, at right back, sorry, and then obviously went in at left back. I do appreciate Gordon's didn't stop trying, never gave up the whole game. I thought Rondon did have some nice touches and stuff. So there's a couple, to be fair. I'd maybe go towards Rondon just because he scored a couple of goals, had a couple of nice touches. And as I said, you kind of saw the relief on him, I think, when the first one went in, of just sort of getting that goal, monkey off his back. Bit of a shame that the goals would come in a defeat and in a game against the National League side. He should have scored against Leeds as well, but a really good save by the goalkeeper. So I think it's the kind of hope when he came on against Leeds was people around me saying, let's just hope this is Frank Lampard, Solomon Rondon, and not Rafa Benitez's. So let's hope that there can be some improvements there, because I think with Calvert-Lewin again not fit, we're going to need someone to chip in with 3 or 4 goals. Let's hope it can be him. So yeah, Townsend and probably Rondon, but there's not many takers for the best slot, I don't think.
Yeah, I completely agree, and hopefully, like you said, we do need somebody to sort of step up in terms of goals, because it looks like Calvert-Lewin's still got a bit of a problem. And he even if he was going to take a bit of a while to get back to the fully fit goal scorer that he normally is. There was one sort of, obviously this was even, you feel even more sorry for the whole incident in the world, but Mykolenko, went off, limped off injured as well. A little bit of a worry for us. Only left back at the club, unless we stick John Joe Kenny out there, who I know had a good game against Leeds. But again, he sort of fell to a Jekyll and Hyde of having a good game against Leeds and then a not as good game afterwards. And hopefully it's nothing serious, but the club haven't said anything. Do you think this is something that we really need to sort out in the summer? A new left back now. We've got the right back. We could really do with going to get a left back.
I don't know really, because the lad, if we look at Mykolenko, he's just come from a new country and then his country's just gone into war. And I'm pretty sure isn't his dad fighting in it? I think, let's be frank to Mykolenko, there's a lot more going on in his life that's much more important than football right now. And I think I want to cut him a benefit of the doubt because he's, played in the Champions League against Barcelona and against Benfica. And, I know there's some crap players who've played in that competition, but I think Mykolenko's still young enough to the point where he can. Because I think he's what James was talking about. I think he's more of a traditional fullback, not a wing back. I think you get the best out of Mykolenko in a back 4 compared to a back 5, which is what he was playing in originally when he first played under Frank. So I don't think left back's one of our top priorities, to be honest with you. I think with Nkunku back as well, I think those two can rotate, and then if it's a problem in January, maybe bring one in. But I think there's a lot more places we need to go to in summer before left back, a possible replacement for Van der Beek being one, since it doesn't look like we might be able to get him. So I think there's a lot of places I'd look first over left back.
Just put it out there. I didn't mean as in like Mykolenko's not very good. I meant purely in the fact that now he's injured. We have no other left back at the club. Sort of, do we need a backup left back in the summer for him? To avoid us doing what we've done this season, where we have one full fit left back and then everyone else is sort of, because even before we got him, we had Digne, and if Digne got injured, we're sticking Ben Godfrey out there or anybody. I mean, sorry, I should have worded the question better. Do we need a backup left back? Was my question.
I still trust in Nkunku. I think the guy still deserves a chance. I think I like it as well because he's said he's open to doing it and he's going to try. And I think Godfrey does a job at left back. I think he's better at centre back. But then to have those 3 in the rotation at left back, I think it's good enough. I don't think we need to really be going and spending money. I don't know how much we'll have to spend, but I think, like Wormy puts, I think 2 centre backs possibly, and a midfielder and probably another winger a backup winger to replace El Ghazi when he goes. Maybe a better backup striker than Rondon. I think there's a lot of places I'd go before I have a look at left back, even a backup left back, to be honest with you.
James?
Yeah, I think it all depends on Niels and Kunku. I think Mikalenko probably again suited Benitez a bit more, a bit of a more robust player. I think before he came over, the stats sort of made him look like he was almost like a centre back playing left back, which isn't a great compliment, obviously. But I think if we can adjust to Everton and adjust to the Premier League, we've got someone there to play first choice, and then I'd say spend on Niels and Kunku. But you look at the full-back talent that's come out of Chelsea, for example, over the last few years. Obviously, Lampard could well know someone who's in the 18s there, a bit like Livramento, who we were linked to from Southampton, and supposedly Benitez didn't want, which is a massive, massive shame. Cause that is a full-back who is very much ready to play for Everton, play Premier League level, which is incredibly frustrating. But I think if Nkunku isn't ready, then for me, we've got to do something. And it's a difficult situation because you've got someone there in Nikalenko who's a good age, but maybe isn't quite the right profile and has cost the club a lot of money, especially the club at the current financial state that they're in. So I would say if Nkunku isn't going to be ready, then it's going to be someone they're looking at. But I think I read a thing that Newcastle apparently in the summer drawing up a list of targets in every position. I just think Everton should probably do that. Just draw up a list in every position, and then if the manager says, well, I couldn't rely on him throughout the season, we've got to strengthen there, just go and get as many as you can, because I think it's going to be, again, a bit of a summer of getting bodies in and just kind of strengthening the side, because we are just so weak. And up until the last couple of weeks, the bench has been crap again all season. So, I'd say if Nkunku isn't ready, get rid of him. Don't hang him around to dry again like we did with Garbutt and Pennington and Bezic and Balassi and all them. Just get rid of him. Get someone new in, because we need more than one left back. No successful club has ever gone into a season with only one player in as many positions as we've done over the last few years, it feels like.
Yeah, and I think striker as well. To be honest with you, I think what we're gonna see a lot of is Frank's Chelsea links, and in a positive and a negative, I could definitely see us maybe being able to steal Gallagher from Crystal Palace just because of Frank Lampard. I could see us nicking that Broya from Southampton, because I think Dom's gone in the summer, to be honest with you. I think Arsenal's turned his head, to be completely honest with you. And if they don't sign a striker from Europe, I think they're going to come back to us and pay us the money we want for Calvert-Lewin. So, like you said, I definitely agree with James about the Newcastle thing. Just draw a list up of get every position, get 10 players who play in each of those positions, and then even goalkeeper, because you never know what can happen. So I think being prepared, being overly prepared is much better than being not prepared enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And the list's a great idea. And obviously, maybe times are changing at Everton Football Club as we've got a new director of football. He did his interview today. There's some promising signs in there. I know talk is cheap. Words are nothing till it's put into action. But he said a lot of stuff that Everton fans have been asking for a while. One of the main ones I thought was he wants to make it clear what the identity is of this club and work with Frank Lampard to sort of recognise that, which I think not just, Rafa Benitez, but I think especially during Marcel Brand's period, that's been a really big problem of identity. We've had Carlo Ancelotti, you could say he's a good manager, but his style was a bit pragmatical. Rafa Benitez fitted that mould. But then you've had the likes of Marco Silva, who wanted to play a little bit better, a little bit passing, higher football, higher pressing football. So it's been a bit of a mix and match when you look at the managers we've had during the last director of football's reign. Did either of you see the interview, listen to it, read it, and what are your thoughts on him? I'll start with you then, James.
I also haven't seen it. I did see it was uploaded. I did some reading on him last week, though, to be fair. And Red Bull don't appoint bad people to big positions. It just doesn't happen because they are not interested in football. They're interested in Red Bull being a big brand, and they're interested in having the best of the best in each position. And the Hasenhüttls and the Ragnicks of this world have played massive roles in it. And you're seeing throughout football now the Red Bull links left, right, and centre, whether it's players like Patson Daka and Marcel Sabitzer and Canate and whoever it might be. There's just players all over the gaff who play for Salzburg or played for Leipzig or to a lesser extent probably Red Bulls as well, and links in Brazil and I think Ghana as well. Have got their own team. It's just they're a massive corporation. They don't just appoint people for the sake of it. So he was at Wolves as well. They were a club who we really need to take a leaf out of their book and sort of say they sold Diogo Jota because they knew he was an all right Premier League striker. He'd probably go supernova at Liverpool like he has done, selling for a lot of money. And then they got players like Hwang-Hee Chan in for peanuts in terms of in comparison, maybe about a third of the price, and got him on loan as well to see if they liked him. They're just a much better run club than Everton. And it's funny, I actually said this after they beat Leicester a couple of weeks ago. And it's interesting he's now got someone who's played a big role for them over the last few years. So haven't seen the interview yet. I will probably watch it tonight. I want to watch the Ashley Cole one as well, to be fair. So I'll see I'll sort of see how I feel about him. But yeah, I think the signs are promising, and it's much better than that Steve Hitchen bloke from Tottenham who was just another Kircherabjian puppet. I'm glad we avoided him, and I think we probably got Tim Cahill to thank for that as well. So yeah, I'm excited, and it's great to have someone with a plan as well.
Yeah, because I think the one thing he gets slandered for is what Wormy's put here. Don't know how much he had to do with Wolves because of all the young Portuguese players. I think a lot of people don't realise is what Mendes did at Wolves was recommend players. And then I think the thing is with this Kevin, I can't pronounce his last name, Felwell or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the guy who signed Conor Cody. He's the guy who nicked Conor Cody out of, Liverpool's reserves as a defensive midfielder and turned him into, you can argue, one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League if you go off statistics, if you go off the way Wolves are playing, if you go off the fact that he makes England squads. I don't think we'd complain at all if we could nick someone out of, I think obviously we'd have to go to a bigger standard than that, but we nicked someone out of Chelsea's under-23s and then they turned into an England international with us, I think context is a big part of it, and I don't think he had as much of an impact on Wolves as a director of football usually would. Aitner is another example from Wormy here, who's, a really good wing back at Wolves. I think, there's a lot of, it's if, buts and maybes, isn't it? Because we brought in, what's the geezer's name from Leicester? A few before
Steve Walsh.
Brand. And he had this fantastic reputation at Leicester and then down the toilet. But yeah, I agree with James. It's all about the Red Bull thing, because the thing is with Red Bull, if you do good at one unit, it's almost like a work ladder. You'll get promoted. It wouldn't have surprised me if we didn't take him. If Salzburg's director left, he'd be at Salzburg next. Then Leipzig, it's kind of how it works over there. Jesse Marsch went from Red Bulls, Salzburg, Leipzig. So, I think anyone hired under the scouting umbrella of the Red Bull brand is going to be good. Naturally, he'll know what he's looking for. And it's like you said, identify a plan, an identity of the club. I'm not asking for the best scout in the world. I'm asking for just a consistent plan that if Frank Lampard doesn't work out, touch wood and hopefully he does, then we go, okay, you want to play this style of football? Here's 15 candidates for you. Take your choice. I'd recommend this one because blah, blah, blah. That's the type of club we need to be, a modern club. I think a lot of us have always thought Everton have been stuck in the dark ages for a long time in almost this reluctancy to move on to how modern football is ran. But I think that's how you've got to be nowadays. And I think there is still clubs who don't do that. You look at Man United, who've only really just started doing that now. You look at other teams who, you look at the two best teams in England are Manchester City and Liverpool, are two of the teams that adopted this method quite early of modern football and scouting and director of footballs and running this way. So I think they're a good example to follow from. So I think it's someone with a plan and an identity is all we need, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's worth pointing out as well, apparently Ruben Neves, you could heavily sort of say was his signing at Wolves for all the Mendes links. Apparently Ruben Neves was sort of him. But I agree with the Red Bull thing completely. It's a good sign if Red Bull want you, because they're not into the, especially what English football is as well, they're not into the emotion of football. Like James said, it's a business for them. It's a brand. It's why they're picking up clubs left, right, and centre in Brazil, all over the world. I know people weren't keen on what they did at Leipzig, sort of thing, and the scouting networks they have. But in terms of a brand and how you want a business and a football club to be ran, they sort of set the bar. And obviously, it's not just about being a good scout, because, like James said, Steve Walsh was apparently a really good scout. But we gave him the director of football's job, and that was probably a bit too high for him. Maybe he was better off at just being a scout. And most importantly, it's not just a director of football. He's going to have a team built around him as well. I imagine he will have an input in who the chief scout is as well, who also left. So I'm sure he'll have a sort of, and hopefully he'll look at the head of youth development, because, no offense, but I don't think Unsworth, I don't think he should be really the head of youth. Or, I think the whole youth system at Everton needs a good thorough cleaning through as well. I'm excited for that, and it's mainly in Leipzig. The way Red Bull work proves this. They have an identity. All the managers that walk through those doors tend to have a similar style of play. Hopefully, sort of brings that consistency to Everton, because, like you said, it would be really nice if we signed players to suit a style instead of suiting a manager, and then it'd be a hell of a lot easier for us to pick managers if we did it that way, instead of the absolute circus that we had in the summer and about a month ago, when it was an absolute circus and it was apprenticeship levels of drama and entertainment. So hopefully it's positive things for Everton moving forward. We've got a couple of more. Obviously, JT here has put that he's a massive Rondon fan and he thinks that we're going to beat Tottenham, which obviously we'll touch on this before we finish as well. We'll touch on the next game. I don't want to do too much because I'm sure we'll have something out for that. But how are you feeling for the Tottenham game? Are you confident? Because obviously I think I speak for all of us when we say the league is the priority.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say we can easily beat Tottenham. I think teams worse than us have beaten Tottenham this season. I think Tottenham are, to put it simply, I only think Tottenham beat Man City because Harry Kane could be asked that day. I don't think he's going to care about playing against us, to be completely honest with you. I think Harry Kane, there's been a definite improvement from Harry Kane. I think there's been, over the past few weeks, I think it's clear he might be getting us back to what he was, but I also think we definitely can win. I think Tottenham are a team where if you take it to them, they get shell-shocked a little bit. When a team like Southampton went at them, and they were like, wait, what are you doing? I think Spurs have this weird arrogance to me that they shouldn't have. And it's like, it's not the fans, it's not anything, but it's the club itself have this weird arrogance that they're better than certain teams. And then when those certain teams in that pool go at Tottenham without fear, Tottenham almost freeze up. And it makes them do it. I think that's one thing we need to do, is show teams like Tottenham, just like we did with Man City, that there's no fear and that we believe we can beat any team in the league. I think that's how we need to go into every league game now.
James, how are you feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting Tottenham because they are incredibly inconsistent. They beat City, they get beat by Burnley, they batter Leeds, and they get beat by Borough. I think the atmosphere is going to be really flat at Tottenham, to be honest with you, because they're out of all the cups now. They got knocked out comically out of Europe. They're in a race for the top four, but I don't think they're going to win. I think they'll probably finish below Arsenal and United, most likely. You say about Harry Kane, how arse are you going to be now from in now till season's end? I'm not convinced, because I think Fabrizio Romano tweeted up the FA Cup. If they were to win that, it would have been a massive sort of statement and a massive thing for him moving forward beyond this sort of block that he's at with Tottenham at the minute. And Tottenham have got some really, really good players, like him and Heung-min Son, especially. How are they going to be asked to just keep playing sort of top 6, top 7 Premier League football and never winning anything? I know it's the exact same for Everton, but we've not had a player close to Heung-min Son and Harry Kane since the 1980s. They are two of the best footballers in their positions in the world, and the fact they've stuck around at Tottenham doesn't really get spoken about enough, especially Heung-min Son, who's not got that sort of English and London connection. I think it's remarkable that he's never even really been linked to a move away. So we'll see. They're the two best players, the two most dangerous players, but Kulusevski starts off all right. Matt Doherty and Session as the wing backs are starting to caused teams more issues. I think Conte's commented on how his wing-back system is starting to be implemented. But I think at the end of the day, he's the kind of manager who needs a lot of facilities to sort of work his magic. But once he does get that, once he gets everything he wants, he is a really good tactician and he can make a really good team. But there's going to be teething issues, much like how when Ancelotti came to us, there was teething issues because there's a lot of crap to get rid of. There's players who don't care. There's players who aren't going to fit his system. And this is a decent time to play Tottenham, I think. So we'll see how they get on. So they've had a bit more rest from us, but we'll have the likes of Dele and Van der Beek and Pickford and Richarlison from the start all back in, you'd imagine. So, it's hard to feel confident with our poor away form is, but I'm really hoping we can get a result on Monday.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I will ask this, Jamie O'Hara. I think you might have seen the TalkSport clip. To be fair, James, if you're on about the Boreham Wood fan, he asked the other day, an Everton fan, would you take going down if we won the FA Cup? I know my feelings on it are pretty, just out of curiosity, would either of you take that?
No, it's pointless. Yeah, it's a bit like when people say, "Would you take the Champions League over the FA Cup?" And it's kind of like the Champions League has got a massive, it can massively help you going on in terms of money and revenue and stuff. But the FA Cup, you may never win it again once you win it once, so you kind of got to take it. But when it comes to relegation, that would just, I think that'd be a knockout blow for Everton, to be honest with you. And it doesn't have to be one or the other, though. We can definitely manage both. So, but yeah, I think anyone who says they take the cup and get relegated, we're not Wigan, we're not Bolton, we're not Bournemouth, we're not a team who are used to being in the second tier. So, as much as I want to win one, I've said for as long as I can remember, I'd take 17 for the trophy, and now more than ever, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the idea of, just to go on, James said before you go on, Connor, it's stupid, isn't it? We've got this reputation of, and I think we are still, if you want to take everything into account, one of the biggest clubs in the country. I think, we haven't succeeded in a long time, but if you want to look at trophy hauls, when Man City and Chelsea are still trying to catch up with our trophy haul, obviously Chelsea's, for example, the 2 Champions League outweigh probably most of the trophies we've ever won. But my point is, pure number of trophies, I'm pretty sure we're still 5th. I'm pretty sure. So Chelsea might have more than us, sorry. So I think it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Man U, Liverpool, and then it's us for most trophies. So, it's not like we're this, I'm trying to think of a club. We're not Newcastle with a big fan base and, lots of money we're not. And, I know it winds Newcastle fans up when we say we're the bigger club, but we are comfortably as well. I don't think it's a debate. I think there's a lot of things that take into account, but I think saying we'd get relegated and take a cup is ridiculous when we have this tradition of us being one of 6 teams that have never been relegated during the Premier League era. We've been a staple of the Premier League since it started and, hopefully for a much longer time. But yeah, if someone said, you're going, because Newcastle's the game before Palace, that's what you said, isn't it, James?
It's meant to be, yeah, for the time being.
So if that stays that way and someone goes to me, for example, you beat Newcastle by playing your full strength team, that keeps you up. But you beat Newcastle, stay up, or lose to them and stay down, or win the cup. So basically, you lose to Newcastle, beat Crystal Palace and go on to win the cup, but you're going to get relegated. Or you beat Newcastle, lose to Palace and stay up. I take staying up. Because to put it simply, the money you get for staying in the Premier League outweighs winning the FA Cup by millions.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think no Everton fan really would want to see us go down, even if it did mean not winning FA Cup. But like James said, we could do both. It's not.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. People will say it's unlikely, but it's not. It's not impossible. It's not impossible till you're kicked out of it. So I'd happily take that. We'll end on the final one, which is give me your score predictions for the next leg. So the Crystal Palace, the next round, the Crystal Palace game. Give me your score predictions for them. I'll start with you, Cal.
You're putting me on the spot first. I'm going to say we're going to win 2-1.
I'll go 0-0. I'll go 0-0 and then extra time and maybe even penalties. I think it'll be a low scoring affair.
I hope just for the sake of everybody's nerves that Cal's right here.
I won't be able to do penalties. The Euros final. That is the worst pit of dread I've ever felt.
I imagine watching Everton now in a penalty shootout.
I'd have no faith though. I'd go into the penalty shootout going, we've lost, game over.
Yeah, so I mean, Pickford does say pens, but he'll probably play Begovic. So
he does save pens, to be fair.
But that is everything we've got time for today. I think we've covered Boreham Wood and the FA Cup and a little bit of Tottenham and everything we can in between. I'd like to thank both Cal and James for coming on and speaking to me. It's been an absolute pleasure, lads. Thank you very much.
Nice one.
Yep.
And don't forget, guys, to like the stream. If you're watching it on YouTube afterwards, like the video, comment down below your score predictions. Eugene reckons it's 3-0 to Everton against Palace. And subscribe